All right. Good afternoon. Before I get into Saturday and things we're trying to get done there, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the quality work we got done here today. The Buffalo Bills are a good dance partner. We had a really productive practice. They're different than us in some ways, and that's what made the work really good. We're a 3-4 structure, they're a 4-3 structure, so I'd imagine that was good for both offensive lines to see those different structures and get a couple of days' work as opposed to one day's work with it. Obviously, man, they got some continuity within their program and culture, and we do as well. Sean and I have known each other, man, since we were kids. I just think it created a really good and competitive atmosphere while maintaining professionalism. And so I'm appreciative of that. We need that type of work, particularly in regards to the special teams. It's probably the most difficult thing to duplicate in a practice-like setting, the intensity and so forth associated with in-stadium work as it pertains to teams. I thought we had a couple of really good periods in that regard. Both units got an opportunity to execute some punting game. We had an opportunity to get some more work and looks at the kickoff game. And so just really appreciative of that work and their cooperation in making this thing come off the way that it did. Now I'll turn our attention to the game. As I've mentioned a couple of times this week, man, we got a really inclusive mentality about participation in this game. We're not setting anyone aside to minimize their reps or to look at others. All of those that are healthy will participate in the game. That's our mentality. The sand's starting to run through the hourglass in terms of us divvying ourselves up and carving out a role for ourselves in this thing. And so these in-stadium opportunities are limited and weighted differently. And as we go into our second stadium and our last one here in Pittsburgh, we just think it's appropriate that we have an all-in type mentality. Now, that being said, we got a number of guys dealing with ongoing training camp-like injuries. You could characterize many of them as day-to-day and so forth. But again, we'll lead a light on for those guys, but at the 11th hour, we'll make whatever decisions appropriate in terms of their participation. Russ is scheduled to participate if he has no setbacks, man. It's been a good week. He's been a full participant. He's had a couple of really good days. With each passing day, it's less of an issue. And so we look forward to him participating in this home venue. Our mindset regarding the first team or the first wave of terror, if you will, last week they played about 2 series, roughly, offensively and defensively. We have a mindset of playing roughly 4 this time around, but that's subject to change based on what it is that we see. If they're highly effective and productive and we get good quality work, we might move on from them to get more of an exposure to the other guys. And so that's a template in which we work. It's not etched in stone. We had a 2-series mentality last time out. This time out, we kind of got a 4-series mentality. What are we looking for? We're looking for more cleanliness. We didn't play to our liking last time from a penalty standpoint in some instances, particularly pre-snap things and some fundamental things, CQ exchanges, that's Steelers beating Steelers. We're not into that. We need to clean all of those things up. Those pre-snap things, those things that are 100% controllable. I'm looking for big-time cleanliness there. I'm looking for better possession down football. I acknowledged last time we did little, if any, planning relative to possession down ball, and oftentimes you're capable of looking like that, but neither here nor there. This second time around, I expect us to be much more effective on possession down play, offensively and defensively. I think last week we might have been 0 for 5 or 6 or something on our first third down possessions in the game, and on defense, I thought we gave up some very winnable, third down possessions. I think a touchdown they scored was 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. We got to win those. We had another 3rd and 16 that went to 4th and 1 or inches. We just were not good enough in possession down play on either side of the ball, and so that's something that we're looking for. We're quite simply JV in special teams. I mean, the errors were numerous, to be quite honest with you. We had a bad snap. We muffed a punt. We had a penalty on kickoff return that gave us the ball on the 12 as opposed to the 30 or 29-yard line. Our net punting wasn't up to snuff. So there was a lot about the special teams game that I'm looking for dramatic improvement second time around. And I think that is reasonable. We've had a really good week of work. A component of professional football, man, is getting out in front of problems before they happen. And if you don't, eliminating them quickly once they show themselves. And so I'm really evaluating us as players and as coaches in terms of the appropriate response to some of the things that were thrown in our side a week ago. Spent a lot of time talking to Coach McDermott, but he's in a similar position. They didn't like a lot of things about their performance from a week ago, and so you got two driven, hungry football teams that are looking to get better, and it should make for good competition and quality play on Saturday night. That's enough of me. I'll stop and open it up for questions.
Mike, is Herbig one of the training camp-like injuries, and who do you anticipate starting at center?
He's got a training camp-like injury. We'll wait and see his level of availability before I declare that, and that's one of the things I was talking about in terms of the 11th hour decision. We're going to leave the door ajar for as many as we can.
Mike, you said that Russell is scheduled to be a participant. Do you expect him to participate with the first team offense or the second team?
He'll start.
Was it just a veteran day off for TJ today?
Yes.
Looking at guys such as like Beatty Bishop and Ryan Watts who are competing for jobs, how important is it for them to show almost more on special teams than actually on defense?
You know, I don't know that more is the appropriate thing. They need to show in all areas. I think the more irons they have in the fire, it helps their cause and ours. Make no mistake about it, special teams are a major component. But the things that they're doing on defense and the versatility in particular regarding the two guys that you mentioned is an important component of their profile. So they got to multitask. They got to have an upward trajectory in all areas, to be quite honest with you.
Mike, how have you seen Broderick Jones respond to the first preseason game? Today he was up against like guys like Von Miller and Rousseau, and it seemed like he more than held his own.
You know, practice is practice. Game work is game work. I'm excited about watching him and others participate in the stadium on Saturday night.
Mike,
How,
you had a
if at
chance.
all, might the plans for Broderick change in terms of left tackle reps because of Troy's injury?
What's your question?
How might the plan for Broderick getting some work at left tackle change because Troy is out?
I don't know that it changes. You know, versatility is an asset of his. He's played both throughout. I'd imagine that will continue, and I don't know that Troy's circumstances has anything to do with him being versatile for us.
Coach, you leave Latrobe. I know the team camaraderie, the bonding. How happy are you with how things went? Is there anything that stood out?
You know, I appreciate the earnest effort given by the guys to capture that which we cannot measure. That's one of the reasons why we go to a destination camp. We're obviously there to develop skill and know-how and things relative to our jobs, but there's a component of the team that we're chasing too. That camaraderie, that understanding, that respect that's born during those informal times. And so it was a really good camp on a lot of fronts, and that intangible component that you mentioned was significant as well.
Mike, what did you see out of that first game from Peyton Wilson? Once you had time to look at tape, and what more do you want to see from this?
I thought it was a really good start for him. He was highly active on defense and in teams, but I think it's reasonable to expect him to be more detailed with that activity with more exposure.
Mike, roughly how many series do you expect Justin Fields to play in this preseason?
Again, we're going for roughly 4 series with that first group, and then we're going to play from there. I don't have it etched in stone.
Mike, Justin said that you guys really have never dictated to him how much he should use his legs versus his arm in practice. How have you seen his decision making as far as when to take off and use his mobility?
You know, I don't want to diminish his natural instincts. I've been really pleased with what I've seen in that regard. I think the 2-minute drill and what you saw today was reflective of that. What I don't want to do is take away a natural act. That guy's got some natural abilities in that area. It's our job to properly direct it and make sure that it's an asset to him and to us. That's the mentality that we all have. It's been good thus far. I'm not going to overmanage or micromanage it.
Having seen it live a few times now in your practice, preseason game here, anything you've learned about the new kickoff rules?
You know, it's just, continually a work in progress, and, nothing that's earth-shattering in terms of things that you guys might appreciate, but the angles in which the blocks need to happen from a return standpoint, how long they need to hold blocks, how quickly people hit holes and so forth. I think we're all just getting really familiar with certain nuances that aren't earth-shattering, but that are significant regarding execution.
Coach, I apologize if you already asked this or answered this earlier, but obviously you guys haven't had a joint practice since like
you know, Buffalo's a great dance partner. They got some structural things that are different than what we do business, and it's just good to gain some exposure. We're a 3-4 team. They're a 4-3 team, for instance. Beyond that, McD and I go way back, man. My former college teammate, I knew that we would have a good opportunity to maintain the professionalism while getting good competitive work, and I really feel good about what we're able to do from that standpoint.
Anyone else?
Playing a college non-conference game, you owe them one now?
We'll see. You know how it goes.
Coach, obviously it's still early, but in watching Darnell Washington, with certain things that stand out that you're pleased with his receiving as opposed to his blocking?
You know, I don't know that I'm surprised by anything that he does in the passing game. I think that component of his game has been underrated because of his stature and the things that he brings to the run game. But I think that, you know, none of that is surprising to any of us. He's an effective guy. He's capable of creating separation at break points. He's got an awesome catch radius for a big man. He can catch balls on his back half or down low. He's a capable guy in that area.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.